Pretty much. His only way out is to show power. And the only way he can do that right now is to say, we're defending our territory and I'm using a tactical nuke. And it gives the rest of the world like, hey, we're just defending our territory. You wouldn't do the same?
So now we can go on to Russia. This is what everyone is talking about. And I think Gerald and I have a little bit of a disagreement here. Not a huge one, but the jumping off point, if you've been following this, is, of course, Vladimir Putin granted citizenship. And by Vladimir Putin, I mean someone who's moving his corpse like a weekend at Bernie's.
Hiding?
He granted citizenship to 75 foreign-born residents, and this included, of course, the big news, Edward Snowden. Here you go.
Right before we were coming on the air, Edward Snowden, we found out, is now a Russian citizen. President Vladimir Putin signing a decree today granting that citizenship to Snowden, the former NSA contractor behind what a House investigation found to be the most damaging leak, they said, of classified information in this country's history. Snowden had been in exile in Russia for 9 years, with the State Department spokesperson saying today he's still a U.S. citizen, too, they believe, while making this point about Snowden's new Russian citizenship. Watch.
Mr. Snowden should return to the United States, where he should face justice as any other American citizen would. Perhaps the only thing that has changed is that as a result of his Russian citizenship, apparently now he may well be conscripted to fight in Russia's war in Ukraine.
Oh, on the front lines, Snowden.
By the way, that's not true. He's never served in the military, so he won't be asked to fight, right? In their military, I should say, right?
Come on, for crying out loud. He's a celebrity.
I know.
Good script.
Celebrity citizenship
grant.
grant.
The Snowden brigade, yeah.
Silly Ned.
And it's often tough for me to keep track of who leaked what when we're talking about Snowden and Assange. And I even realized I forgot Chelsea Manning. Chelsea Manning, what was Chelsea's first name? Was it Bradley?
Bradley.
It's Bradley Manning.
Bradley Manning.
Chuck.
Became
Chuck.
Oh, Chucky boy.
So here's the thing. Snowden's been in Russia since 2013. Okay, let's recap this really quickly. And this is obviously nothing but posturing for Putin. Why? Russia is failing miserably.
Yeah.
Okay? He has to look strong right now. And this also will tie into China here in a multitude of ways, because we always thought that the Russians had a really strong military. Right. And this is the myth of not only the Russian soldier, but we had this with the Russian athlete. Remember we thought about you had the Miracle on Ice? Yeah. Right? You had Alexander Karelin, probably the most dominant athlete in any sport of all time until he got beaten by Rulon Gardner. If you guys haven't watched some of his highlight reels, this man was lifting and suplexing 300-pound men. We thought the Russians must have this unbelievable training until we found out that they were walking human pincushions.
Yeah.
Right? We found out that they were cheating, they were breaking all of the rules, and if you take that away from them in any form of competition internationally, they don't tend to fare so well. So it's the same thing with the military. We thought they must have this incredibly powerful military. No, it was propped up. It's not actually real. And let me give you a couple of reasons why. It's pretty hard to get people to fight for a nation that oppresses them.
Yeah.
That they don't actually believe in. We like to believe that they're really loyal to Mother Russia. And by the way, it's just one corrupt crap hole Ukraine fighting another corrupt crap hole Russia, to be clear. But that doesn't mean that I'm pro-Putin. So the people out there who try and actually take this contrarian view of Putin's actually great, well, guess what? His own people don't think so, just to be clear. They don't want to fight for this guy. This idea that they love the motherland Russia, well, it's not true. We're seeing it. How? You just had Putin he had to mobilize, 300-something thousand? Oh, we have an overlay. Yeah. 300,000-something reservists for active duty.
Initially. That was just his starting off point, and we've got to send some more human, shields.
Everybody on the Russian side just seemed to be like, yes, we are fighting.
Yes.
Mother Russia.
Yes, Mother Russia. Yeah. Right.
Take me, please. Take me out of here.
Whereas the Ukrainians, say what you want about them, they actually believe that they're fighting for something. Now, unfortunately, the Ukrainian people aren't really accurately or fairly, I should say, represented by their leadership, because it's one of the money laundering capitals of the world, and corruption knows no bounds in Ukrainian leadership. But that doesn't mean that the Ukrainian citizens are not fighting for something that they believe in. Right. Show me, and you know what? You can comment below. Can you think of any examples of subjugated people waging an incredibly successful or making more effective soldiers than the non-subjugated people that they were fighting? Now, I don't mean subjugated people fighting other subjugated people, a tyrannical government, right, forcing people to fight for them versus another tyrannical government. I mean, a free people losing en masse to a subjugated people. There might be some examples. I'm willing to bet they're few and far between, and certainly as far as the ratio to examples of the reverse. Now, I think we actually have a clip. There was a response to the order from Putin where protests, they broke out all over Russia.
Yeah. They handle their protests a little differently.
Yeah, they do in Russia.
Yeah, it's a tonal change.
Yeah.
They're not burning down the Volgrinovs. The CV Estovich.
It's not a thing. That guy got off lucky. They walked him away.
And by the way, of course, you've had Russians. For those who don't know, all references are available at Crowder.com. They've burned down multiple conscription centers. You have Russians who are fleeing the country to avoid conscription, right, to avoid being forced into the military. And you have thousands of cars. We have another clip. This is something that is it is quite striking to see.
Yeah.
And I know some of you say this is just Western propaganda. No, look, this is something that is happening. And I am someone who is a non-interventionist. I don't think we should be involved with Ukraine and Russia. I've been very, very clear about that. But I can also call some balls and strikes where I see them. You have thousands of cars that are fleeing Russia into Georgia, into Kazakhstan, even into Finland. We have. It's one of those eerie sights when you actually see it.
До самого Нижнего Ларса, это порядка около 5-6 километров.
That looks like deep impacts.
5 or 6 kilometers long. Yeah, this is a post-apocalyptic scene that you're going to see in just a minute, where like there's just cars everywhere. People just trying to flee their country. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, it looks like every beginning to a zombie movie ever.
Trying to get out of your country so desperately. Putin is losing his grip, it seems, on the Russian country, the people, right? He's not the popular leader that he's always made himself out to be, obviously. But now that it comes down to we have to go and die in another country for a failing objective that you guys, I mean, everybody thought that this would be a couple of weeks and Putin would take over.
Right.
We didn't think Ukraine would be able to stand up this long. There's no way anybody wants to die for this.
And of course, they're able to stand up this long because of international support and your tax dollars.
Right, which makes him very, very dangerous. He's trying to look strong. He's trying to say, I'm going to thumb my nose in the face of the Americans. I'm going to make Snowden a citizen. That's a very small step forward in this debate. But when we get to the nuclear
he's trying to take the little wins where he can.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, you're going to do that and send 58 billion? I'll give citizenship to this Joseph Gordon-Levitt type.
If he really wants to piss us off, just send us back Brittany Griner. And we'd be like, got to play in the NBA again.
No, wait, don't.
No,
yes.
don't.
Yes. No, wait.
No, hey.
No, it's do send her back.
Yeah.
Send her back.
We want her back now.
On the next flight. Oh, by the way, they can't do that because one-way plane tickets out of Russia have sold out. So again, you can say that we have propaganda in media, of course, all across the globe, but these are objective measures that you see when you see the cars, right? And then you also see that the plane tickets have sold out. These are things that are pretty difficult to lie about, especially in today's information age. By the way, the Russian state media is even starting to turn on hey, look, it's Wednesday Addams right there on CNN. That's a wonderful way for a professional broadcaster to look.
The orphan.
Yeah, exactly. 95-year-old who you brought into your house as a 14-year-old. There's a sequel for that.
There is.
Here's the Russian state media actually starting to turn on Putin. I think we have a clip.
Мы все читали, что первая волна – рядовые старшины-прапорщики до 35 лет. Но вам показать, сколько повесток таких рассылают 45-летним, 43-летним рядовым, которые уже...
Там, по-моему, на 1,62 года даже умудрился попасть.
Я видел 59. В общем, с этим надо что-то решать и не обижать людей.
А можно расстреливать?
Я против расстрелов.
А я за. Я вот просто публично бы вывел бы пару таких военкомов. Особенно там в Новосибирске один умник. Вот взять этого военкома за ухо и на передовую на Донбасс.
Жалостно. Там будет что? Он не способен, у него мозгов нет.
Правильно.
Так не посылай безмозглых на фронт.
Лопаточку ему дать, пусть и окапывается. От него будет вреда там меньше.
Wow. They said drag that person out by the ear and shoot them in public.
I love that. For those who are listening in audio.
Like a super villain.
Yes.
I love how, for people who are listening in audio, and I'll give you the translation but I'll give you the translation with the accent because that's how they often do it. And she's like, I am, he's like, why don't we shoot them? She's like, I am against shooting people. But I like shooting people. We should shoot the people. And drag them into grave. That's a general translation. Saying that on her, saying, grab the recruiter, grab him by the ear and you shoot. I don't like shoot. I like shoot.
But I like shoot. But I do. So I think we should.
Yes. And I am dressed as M. Bison.
Yes. So. Yes. I do not like to shoot. Point taken. Counterpoint. I enjoy to shoot.
Eh?
But can you imagine saying that against an officer or an official in the government? This is a recruitment center officer, somebody who's leading the charge in getting people in, right? Mm-hmm. And you're saying we should take them out and publicly shoot them.
Right.
So that the public can just be forewarned, like this kind of thing. We're just going to do it in public.
You catch more flies with vinegar.
I can't believe this. Like these guys are signing their own death warrants by speaking out against Putin in years past.
Well, they also might be thinking, of course, again, he's weakened.
Right.
At this point.
And now's the time.
And they feel emboldened enough because they feel as though there's a groundswell in Russia, because a lot of people don't want to go and fight for a corrupt government. Yes, Ukraine is corrupt, but so is Putin. So is the administration that Russia is currently dealing with. And so people do not want to put their lives on the line for something that they don't believe in. Subjugated people typically, historically, not always, don't have the motivation to go to war and lay their life down. It's not like a William Wallace type situation. It's not like an American Revolution situation. Just to be clear. And by the way, this is what we've been saying about China, or what I've been saying about China for years. The left has wanted us to believe that China is the next great superpower, right? Yeah. For years, this is what experts have been saying. I think this is overlay collage E. If you don't believe me, you can check this from The Guardian. This is from Fortune, The Atlantic. I don't buy it. Now, what Donald Trump did is he served a purpose in saying, no, we can have some sanctions, we can have some punishments, we can make sure that our trade is on an equal playing field with China. The reason the left would say, well, don't do that, don't piss them off, because they're all powerful. Well, why do we think that? Could it be for the same reasons that we thought the Russian military was effective? We thought they were far more effective than we know them to be. What do you think happens in China when for decades you have the people, again, who've been... It's a third world country. It's a third world country for everybody except for the select few chosen. You've been building sneakers. You've been building jeans, and you've been building smartphones that you never get to use. What do you think happens when someone goes to war with that country and they say, wait a second, these people want to liberate us and allow us to actually have access to all of these things that we've been having to create through slave labor? I'm not saying it's a guarantee. What I am saying is the left, because of their globalist worldview, I don't want to use the term agenda because immediately this will be dismissed out of hand, but because of their belief in global trade, and of course, not wanting to piss off China, they've said, oh, no, the consequences will be too severe because China's holding the cards. I don't think they are. Just like I don't think the Russian military is all that impressive. And if you believe it, guess what? That changes so many aspects of the United States. We have films that we have to change so it appeases the Chinese market. Yeah. We have to make sure, hold on a second, we have to craft our trade agreements to make sure that we don't piss off China. Hey, you know what? What's the worst that'll happen? It could be bad. But maybe it's not as bad as the left wants you to believe. And certainly it's not a black or white issue where you have to kowtow to China at every single step, lest you piss them off because they have the upper hand on us in every single facet. This is where I see a parallel that I hope people can learn from this. We thought Russia was something that it's not. I am telling you, China is something we thought them to be, and they are not.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was all about dollars, right? It was all about corporations and media kind of corporations wanting to have access to the Chinese market and to the Chinese people. Like you said, the ones that were, they have so many people that the ones that are the select few, they can drive an economy a little bit. They can make a movie do very, very, very well over there. But most of the country lives, I don't know, I'm not saying most like a stat, but most of the country lives in abject poverty. Look at some of the countryside that you've seen.
The vast majority of them.
Vast majority, I would think, right? So don't fact check me on that, but maybe our researchers can find out what poverty level they have if they would actually release that number. But they saw dollar
They're
signs.
eating street scorpions cooked in sewage shit.
Yes, but that's a delicacy,
cultural differences.
Sure. Different strokes. Yeah. But every one of these corporations
probably think the same thing about our Impossible Burgers.
Including right now with the NBA, including right now with Hollywood, are kowtowing to them. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, you guys are going to get pissed off if we don't say what you want us to say. So we will build you up so that we can have access to your market. And now, because we've done that, and only because we've done that, China has any power in the world at all.
Right.
Only because of us. It is our fault that China is anything that they are right now. Even if they're not as much as we think they are, whatever they are, it is absolutely our fault for doing it. And we can also, like Donald Trump thought, we can turn the clock back. You think you're something that we need to be afraid of? We'll put some sanctions on you. We'll hurt your economy really quickly and show you the only reason you exist is because of us.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, what happens?
And that's what needs to happen.
What happens when you turn off their consumer pool?
Yeah.
Their own people can't be consumers.
Yeah,
that's the big difference between the United States and, by the way, the rest of the world. But even let's take a microcosm here. Take Russia, energy, right? Or was it Ukraine, wheat, right? You have these. It's not for us.
Bread basket.
We're the bread. Yeah, we're the bread. Well, they're the bread basket of the world, right? Is that what they say? Yeah, we're the bread. We really could be our own bread basket. The same thing with energy. We don't need to rely on Russian energy. We don't need to rely on Russian oil whatsoever. We were a net exporter of oil for the first time in decades under Donald Trump. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was startling. I remember covering that. It was also startling when drug prices went down for the first time. These were monumental victories for the American people. But China, turn off the American consumer. They don't have a consumer pool. We have our own consumer pool, and we can have our own production pool. We can be our own producers, we can be our own suppliers, we can be our own distributors, and we can be our own consumers. China can be a supplier. China can be a distributor. They can't be the consumers. That's a very large shift that they would have to make. And it would have to be a shift toward freedom, which they can't do if they want to continue to subjugate people and maintain an economy based on slave labor. See, they're stuck between they have their very little dicks in a vice. And I just mean the Communist Chinese government.
It's a very small vice.
The Communist Chinese government.
Right.
There's a direct correlation between being a Chinese communist and a small penis.
Really?
Let's get this up on
just
TikTok.
Communist, I think.
Science.
Yes.
And annual per capita disposable income in China is $2,647.
Wow.
In rural China versus in the U.S. per capita is $63,000.
It's a little different.
How in the hell is it 63,000 in rural United States?
Well, versus
that's disposable income?
United States.
No way.
We're paying you guys too much.
That makes no sense.
Fight for 15. That's $30K a year.
Crying out loud. Everyone would have John Deeres with spinners.
Well, some do.
Now, to give you some examples, like I was talking about this earlier too, is
sorry, that was GDP.
Oh,
GDP.
okay. Okay, that makes sense. A small motivated, like a fighting force, right, can be far more effective than a large unmotivated one. So you have Vietnam, right? And you can look at some of these people versus both the United States and versus China, right? If you look at what happened in Vietnam, you have the Mujahideen versus Russia. You want to go back historically, you have like the Spartans versus the Persians. And again, they only held them off for a while. Finland versus Russia in the Winter War.
I didn't even know about that one.
Finland versus Russia in the Winter War?
Yeah, that was during World War II. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
It was
Turns out Russia sucked for a while.
Yeah. And who knows how they would have done if they didn't starve their people to death.
Well,
through communism, Marxism. No, wait. Sorry, that's right. You see, that was Leninism. It wasn't communism tried right. So still waiting on that old swing at bat.
Get a lot of chances, though.
Yeah.
Too many chances, I think.
Yes, I agree. That's why we should shoot.
See, his point makes more sense now.
It does make more sense.
It makes sense when you think
about it. You know what?
It's
hard to argue with that logic.
He likes it. I like it.
You see communists, you shoot.
You see communists, you shoot. What do you think Putin's going to do? This is the conversation we want to have.
Yeah.
And by the way, hit the like button if you can. That helps again with the algorithm right now if you're watching. We'd love to hear you discuss along with us. So last week, Putin, and this comes down to, do you think it's saber rattling or do you really think that they're going to actually do this? He threatened a nuclear attack.
To
defend Russia and our people, we will certainly make use of all weapon systems available to us.
All of them?
This is not a bluff. The citizens of Russia can rest assured that the territorial integrity of our motherland, our independence and freedom will be defended, I repeat, by all the systems available to us. Those who are using nuclear blackmail against us should know that the wind can turn their way.
Well, hopefully the wind doesn't hit the trailer home from which you're broadcasting. What's that?
Right.
Like, look here. Look at my early 70s wood paneling. You'll know I am serious.
It is real oak.
Yes. I am not playing games with my Formica. What a piece of shit.
I love so focus on what he said. Territorial integrity. What does that mean? It means that if somebody attacks Russia, they will defend. So he's just started to change this. He's basically saying those Ukrainian provinces, those regions that we think are part of Russia,
are ours now.
They are ours now. They actually had a referendum or a vote on that. Basically, he said, yep, that's part of our country now. So any attack there is attack on Russia. Right?
Yeah, I know.
So this is why I'm saying, like, he's just setting the stage.
So you're saying you do think, and you guys let us know, we'll be taking a chat on Mug Club. You think, a tactical nuke, which by the way would be obviously Ukraine is what you're talking about.
Right. I think he would use a tactical nuke in Ukraine. I don't think there's any threat to any other country right now.
What odds do you put on that? What percentage?
It's really, I don't want to be a doomsdayer, but I would say probably somewhere around 60 to 70% chance if there's an if with this, if things continue the way they are. If they don't start making but listen, I can't predict how these 300,000 people that have been dragged out of the streets.
That's why it's called a prediction.
I know. So if things continue the way that they are, I do not think Putin knows how to exit the stage gracefully. He doesn't. He's a leader that is losing power.
That's a good point.
And he would do that first and say, I am strong. I used a tactical nuke in Ukraine, which is not Russia, obviously. So
right. Let me ask you this. Do you think he would have been able to exit gracefully and maybe been less likely to, in your estimation, drop a nuke if the U.S. hadn't supported Ukraine? Do you think he would have been able to save face maybe a little bit more?
I think maybe, but the entire world is against him right now.
Yeah,
the only people that basically I think he's somewhat friends with right now are China, and I'm not even sure they're really that interested because look how long it's gone.
Right.
Like it's like, we're friends with you right out of the gate. Yes, you can do this. And it's like, guys, it's been months and they don't really have an army.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here?
Kind of embarrassing.
I don't think we're friends anymore. So
like, we need supplies. They just shipped them 4 million copies of Shin Chu's Art of War. Yeah, read a book.
Study up.
No, I really do think this is the end for Putin. I don't think there's any coming back for this.
And you think he might just try and burn it all down to some extent?
Try to save it. I think his way of saving it is
nuking it.
Yes,
looking strong.
Exactly. No, save his power.
I have to blow it up to save.
So you said this a minute ago. Subjugated people, right? So when the leader of the country that subjugates people starts to show weakness, starts to show that there are cracks, all of the wolves come out. Mm-hmm. Every political enemy he's ever had, every person he's stolen a business from and given it to one of his buddies, every person that he has locked up and then sent off into exile into another country, everyone will be coming for him. The knives are out. His only defense is to say, well,
Edward Snowden.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Is Edward Snowden.
Saying that Pussy Riot's going to show up like the baseball furies kick down his office door?
Yeah, pretty much. His only way out is to show power. And the only way he can do that right now is to say, we're defending our territory and I'm using a tactical nuke. And it gives the rest of the world like, hey, we're just defending our territory. You wouldn't do the same?
Right.
It's not going to fly, but he's going to try.
Of course, and he would, at that point, it would be beyond the point of no return. It's like, at that point, it's like a puffer fish or some kind of an animal that poisons the animal who eats it. It's like, well, it's dead, but I guess it takes some little satisfaction in his last moments to know that you died, even though they don't get to see the smile on your face. Kind of like putting a razor blade in someone's apple. Like, you don't get to enjoy it, but you know what happens.
You were not advocating that, by the way.
Somewhere off. You're just like,
no, just trying to understand it.
I would just pay to see the smile on their face.
So you don't think that's
or like farting in an elevator and leaving? If that's
true. And then say it's me when you're leaving.
Yes. What do you think, Quarterback? You think that they'll?
Do you think he's going to do it? I think he's got pretty good points, Gerald, which is shocking. That I think he's losing power and he's losing face. So he's gonna just pull the trigger. If he's got the button, he's gonna do it.
Yeah,
I think it's a high. I don't know.
I would say maybe like 60-40. He doesn't. That would be if I had. And I'm not confident in it.
So there's a 40% chance, even in your estimate,
yes,
we're going to see another nuclear weapon be used on the battlefield.
Yes.
That's
I think it's less likely than likely, but I'm not confident about it.
And that's terrifying because I would love for that to be like, 80% chance that he's not.
Right.
Like I see it because I don't see any way out for him. The other scenario, which I would probably put an 80% chance on.
But there could also
somebody takes him out.
That's like what I was going to say. You're failing to take into account because you said once they see weakness, the wolves come out. But this isn't going to be like the Gray. He's not going to tape broken bottles and like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
There were even people, come on, you're 5'2".
There are even people saying that he had fled Moscow and was actually in hiding somewhere. I have no idea if that's true or not.
That's what I think. That's a very likely scenario. That whether they actually take him out physically or there's a meeting in the back room with, look, you want to save face, go away and don't ever let us see your face again. Yeah. There's a very strong likelihood of that because I don't think that the rest of the ruling class, who by the way, we were just talking about replacing him with it's a Russian political corruption nesting doll. It's just another one and another one, and they don't want their resources to be destroyed. Yeah. They want to be able to save face and say, well, look, Putin, we got rid of him, and then subjugate them with a new lie.
Right. So somebody needs to break Navalny out of prison right now. He's in a Russian prison, and he is the guy to come in and lead that country away from the current trajectory. Right. He is the guy that comes in and is a pro-democracy guy, as much as can be had in Russia. And he would be a great leader. Now, nobody in Putin's circle, nobody who's trying to gain power is going to do that. Militarily, I would hate to see a general have a military coup to take over, but I mean, it's pretty much who leads the country anyway.
That's what's likely,
and say, I'm going to restore Mother Russia.
You know who should take over? I shoot that guy. That's his platform.
It's
just hope and shoot. All right. Good enough for me. Make shoot great again. All right.
But you're just using that's not even your own tagline.
Hey, vote build back shoot.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.